You ever see a moment where the underdog doesn't just strike back, but has to step back, take a breath, and ask, wait, what just happened? That's exactly what's happening, right? Wasn't with missiles or money, but with something far more powerful. Vision, intelligence, strategy, and a hunger to rewrite history. Not repeat it. Now, don't get it twisted. This ain't about hate. This ain't about one country trying to destroy another. No, sir. This is about self-respect. This is about dignity. This is about a nation saying, we've had enough of being looked down on. We're done playing by rules written by people who never had us in mind in the first place. We're not asking for permission anymore. We are making moves. And all the moves India is making, they're shaking boardrooms, rattling power centers, and flipping geopolitical chessboards upside down. See, for years, America played the referee. They called the shots. They decided who got sanctioned and who got saved, who got praised and who got punished. But this time, America looked across the table and realized they weren't holding all the cards anymore. India laid down a royal flush. What do I mean? Let me walk you through this moment. Let the warning signs America ignored me show you why. This is bigger than just diplomacy or defense. This is about identity, about pride. About rising from the ashes of colonial wounds and proving that the future belongs to those who refuse to be silent any longer. It started with trade. For decades, America enjoyed the upper hand. They sold. India bought. They lectured. India listened. But slowly, quietly, without screaming from the rooftops, India built something powerful. An economy that no longer needed to beg. They nurtured industries, empowered entrepreneurs, and let innovation run wild, while Washington was focused on controlling narratives. India was focused on writing a new one, and it worked. India became the pharmacy of the world, the IT hub of the planet, and the fastest growing major economy in the game. Then came defense. Now, let me tell you something. Defense is a whole different ball game. You mess with defense, you're not just talking about money anymore. You're talking about muscle. For years, India bought weapons from the US, Russia, France, you name it. But then India woke up one morning and said, why are we always buying someone else's power? Why don't we build our own? So they did. Indigenous missiles, fighter jets, aircraft carriers built right at home. Suddenly India wasn't just a customer, it was a competitor. And when you go from customer to competitor, people start watching you different. And that's exactly what happened. Washington didn't see it coming. America thought the global shift no one expected India would always depend on them for military support, diplomatic cover, and economic structure. But India had other plans, and nothing said, we don't need you like that anymore. Louder than India's defense deals with other major players. Without waiting for a nod from the White House. That's power. That's independence. That's what respect looks like. But what really caught America off guard was not the economy, not the military. It was the confidence. It was the new India that stood up on global platforms and didn't flinch. When questioned, India didn't stutter. When criticized, India didn't crumble. When pressured, India didn't bend. And that's what stunned the West. Because for too long they were used to countries folding under pressure. Especially countries from the global south. But India said, we've got 4 billion people behind us, and we answer to them, not you. That one statement shook every room India entered. Because here's the thing, when you know who you are, you don't need validation. When you know your worth, nobody can discount you. And when a country finds its voice like that, it becomes unstoppable. India struck back. Not with violence, but with clarity, with purpose, with unapologetic truth. Let's talk diplomacy. There was a time when India had to knock on doors in Washington, London, and Brussels just to be heard. Now India's phone is ringing off the hook. Everybody wants a peace. Everybody wants a deal. Everybody wants India on their side. Why? Because the world sees what America failed to acknowledge early on. India is not just rising, it has risen. And America's biggest mistake is underestimating that rise. You look at every major geopolitical crisis in the last few years. Who's in the room? Who's got an opinion that matters? India, whether it's Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, BRICS, G20, India's playing a central role, not as a sidekick, not as a seat filler. But as a leader, a decision maker, a voice of reason, and America's learning the hard way. If you don't treat people as equals. One day India's silent moves turn loud, outgrow you, and won't even need you anymore. See, America got too used to being the teacher. The mentor, the boss. But India never came to class to be a student. India came to study the system, understand the rules, and then break them wide open. And now America is sitting there like, wait, hold on, how did this happen so fast? It didn't happen fast. It happened deliberately, decades in the making. This is the result of patience, persistence, and power, quietly nurtured. Now boldly displayed. Let's not forget the tech front. Silicon Valley might be American soil, but guess who's running it? Indians, the CEO. The engineers, the innovators. The backbone of global technology is powered by minds born in Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi. The world's biggest digital revolutions are being led by Indians, and not just abroad, at home too. Up Otter India stack tools America doesn't even have tools so advanced other nations are copying them. You can't catch someone off guard when they already sprinting past you. And the best part, India didn't have to invade anybody. Didn't have to colonize, didn't have to bomb. All it had to do was believe. Now America's waking up. You can see it in the way their leaders talk now. A little less bossy, a little more cautious. They're realizing the world has changed and India is not sitting in the back of the room anymore. India is sitting at the head of the table. And if you want cooperation now, you better bring respect with you. See, India struck back by refusing to be pushed around, by standing tall, while others leaned on them, by saying no when it wasn't popular, by protecting its interests like a lion protects its pride. That's why America's caught off guard, because they didn't expect resistance wrapped in discipline. They didn't expect silence to turn into strategy. They didn't expect a soft-spoken nation to carry the moment that shocked the West such a loud legacy. And let me tell you something. This is just the beginning. India ain't done. The world better get used to a different kind of leadership. One that doesn't flex with fear but stands with faith. One that doesn't exploit but empowers. One that doesn't bow but builds, because India ain't here to play the old game. India's rewriting the whole playbook. And that's why America is watching now closely, because when the earth shakes, you look for the epicenter. And right now that epicenter has shifted east. It's no longer just Washington or London or Paris. It's Delhi, it's Hyderabad, it's Bengaluru. It's the voices of 1 billion people who have tasted what it means to rise and are never going back down. So if you think this is about revenge or rivalry, you miss the point. This is about self-worth. About what happens when a nation dares to reclaim its destiny. And trust me, when a country finds its purpose. There's nothing more dangerous to the old order. India struck back by showing the world a mirror. And what that mirror reflected, it wasn't weakness. It was wisdom. It wasn't aggression. It was awakening. And that right there, my friend, that's what caught America off guard. They thought India would ask for a seat at the table. India went ahead and built its own. And now the world's lining up just to sit at it. There was a time when soft power meant Hollywood movies, Coca-Cola ads, and American jeans. When people thought about influence, they imagined Western universities, American tech giants, or Ivy League think tanks shaping the minds of future leaders. But something happened along the way that nobody fully predicted, something that didn't come with fanfare, didn't make headlines every day, but moved like a tide, slowly reshaping the landscape. It was the rise of the Indian diaspora. Quietly, methodically, with discipline and brilliance, Indian minds embedded themselves into the very engine rooms of American power. From tech to policy, from media to medicine, and without economic muscle flexed like never before firing a single shot, they flipped the script. Now, don't misunderstand. This wasn't some secret plan. It wasn't a hostile takeover. It was talent rising to the top, as it always does when left unchecked, when Indian immigrants arrived in the U.S. decades ago. Many came with nothing but a degree, a suitcase, and the hunger to build something better. They didn't protest for attention. They worked for it. They didn't demand power. They earned it. And over time, their presence grew in places most people never noticed. Labs, boardrooms, universities, startups, hospitals. They became the spine of America's innovation engine. But it wasn't until recently that America looked up and realized something profound. The people behind some of the biggest decisions in the country, some of the most powerful companies in the world, some of the most respected academic institutions were Indian. The CEO of Google, Microsoft, Adobe, IBM, and now even YouTube and Starbucks. These are no longer just corporate figureheads. These are cultural influencers. When a man of Indian origin runs one of the world's most used digital platforms, his decisions echo into the lives of billions. That's not just business. That's soft power. And the ripple effect it creates is enormous because now young Indian kids across the globe aren't just seeing white Western faces as symbols of success. They are seeing themselves, and so are Americans. The subconscious association of leadership is shifting. Indians are no longer seen as back-end coders or background experts. They're the face of authority, the voice of innovation, the standard of success. But it doesn't stop in Silicon Valley. Indian Americans are in the U.S. Congress serving as lawmakers who help shape domestic and foreign policy. They are in the White House advising the president on issues that range from climate change to Indo-Pacific strategy. They are in strategic genius or just destiny. The Pentagon guiding defense analysis on South Asia. They're in media networks writing editorials that shift public opinion. They're in Hollywood telling stories that used to be ignored. This is not accidental. This is the rise of a people who have mastered not only the technical tools influence, but the narrative tools as well. Soft power isn't about shouting louder. It's about being heard without needing to raise your voice. And the Indian diaspora has become a masterclass in that. They didn't just bring curry and cricket to America. They brought culture with class. They brought spirituality with science. They brought tradition with technology. And in doing so, they became bridges between two worlds that were once divided by colonial arrogance and Cold War politics. You look at the top universities in the U.S., and you'll find Indian professors running departments, conducting cutting-edge research, mentoring the next generation of American thinkers. You walk into major hospitals and you'll see Indian doctors saving lives, developing breakthrough treatments, managing healthcare systems that impact millions. These aren't side players. These are people holding the system together, and the truth is America knows it. But what America didn't expect was that this same diaspora rooted deeply in American soil never forgot where they came from. They may have American passports, but their hearts never left India. Their values, their language, their love for Indian festivals, music, family and identity, those never faded. And so when India said, enough is enough, takes a stand globally, whether it's a vote at the UN, a crisis with China, or a moment of tension with Pakistan, these influential Indian Americans are no longer silent observers. They are involved, they are connected, and they are powerful. It's a rare thing to be so fully integrated into one nation while still being deeply loyal to another. But that's exactly what has flipped the dynamics. The West expected that immigrants would assimilate completely, lose the old, embrace the new. But the Indian diaspora found a way to do both, to thrive in the system without losing their soul. And that's a level of influence that's hard to counter. Because now if a U senator makes a misinformed remark about India, there's an Indian advisor in the room who can correct it. If a major U.S. publication pushes a biased narrative, there's an Indian columnist or editor who can push back with facts. If a tech policy undermines Indian interests, there's an Indian CEO who has the leverage to challenge it. That kind of access used to belong only to the old Western elite. Now it belongs to people with names like Raj, Neha, Vivek, and Priya. And they're not just playing the game, they're changing it. They are sponsoring students, funding think tanks, creating apps that serve Indian interests. His investing in startups that connect India and the US in ways Washington never controlled. The diaspora is becoming a shadow network of soft diplomacy, an informal web of influence that does what embassies can't, what press releases won't, and what backdoor deals never will. Let's take tech collaboration as a prime example. When India pushes for digital sovereignty or data localization, these issues don't get lost in translation. Indian origin tech leaders understand the nuance. They can mediate between the Indian government and the US regulatory environment with credibility. They speak the language of both sides literally and metaphorically. This dual fluency gives India an edge in negotiations that other countries can only dream of. Because it's one thing to have diplomats. It's another to have citizens on the inside. And this dynamic extends beyond influence. It creates resilience. When anti-India sentiment flares up in Western media or political circles, it doesn't go unanswered. Indian Americans are quick to respond, to organize, to correct the narrative. They lobby, they educate, they write, they speak. They remind America that its relationship with India is no longer a one-way street. It's a two-lane highway. The world now watches India differently with equal traffic in both directions. And while America is still trying to adjust its mirrors, the Indian diaspora is already steering the wheel. Cultural power flows in as well. Indian festivals like Diwali are now celebrated at the White House. Indian food trucks line the streets of New York and San Francisco. Bollywood stars walk red carpets next to Hollywood legends Yoga Ayurveda, Sanskrit chants. They've all seeped into American mainstream consciousness. This isn't cultural appropriation. This is cultural elevation. And it's being led not by governments, but by the very people who grew up singing bhajans at home and now sit on billion-dollar boards. This cultural presence softens foreign policy friction. It builds familiarity. It humanizes India beyond the stereotypes, and it allows Indians in America to speak with moral authority when India is misunderstood, misrepresented, or misjudged, because they're not speaking from the outside. They're speaking from within, from positions of credibility and success, and that makes all the difference. Even in the world of finance, Indian Americans are making global decisions, from leading global investment firms to steering hedge funds. They're not just part of the money flow. They help direct it. And many are now channeling investments back to India, building venture bridges, setting up innovation labs, and empowering Indian youth through mentorship and capital. So while America was focused on keeping India in check diplomatically, the diaspora quietly built an economic corridor that serves both nations but strengthens India most of all. What makes this even the rise that can't be stopped more unexpected is how natural it's all been. No force, no demand, no friction. Just quiet competence, just consistent excellence. And that's what makes soft power so potent. It doesn't need to shout. It simply shows up over and over again until you can't ignore it anymore. The Indian diaspora didn't storm the gates. They became the gatekeepers. They didn't wait to be given space. They became the space. And now every time America makes a move involving India, whether politically, technologically, or diplomatically, someone of Indian origin is likely part of the conversation, if not leading it. That's a level of strategic depth that no other country can boast. Not China, not Russia, not the EU. This isn't just a win for India. It's a shift in global power structure, because for the first time a developing nation has a diaspora embedded at the top layers of a superpower driving decisions, shaping perceptions and building a bridge that can't be broken. And the West, it never saw it. What we are witnessing is not just a political or economic shift. It's a civilizational reawakening. India is no longer asking for recognition. It's commanding it with strategic patience, cultural strength, and intellectual depth. It has transformed from being a nation that once navigated the world systems to one that now designs and influences them. This journey hasn't been accidental. It's been decades in the making, through the rise of its diaspora, the strength of its institutions, and the resilience of its people. India's power today isn't measured just in GDP or military strength, but in the confidence with which it walks into global conversations. It's the quiet refusal to be bullied, the strategic no when others expect a yes, and the ability to speak not from a place of fear, but from a position of earned respect. And as America watches with a mix of surprise and admiration, the rest of the world is taking notes, because this is more than a comeback. It's a redefining moment in history where a nation that was once underestimated now stands as a symbol of what is possible when dignity, clarity, and vision converge. India hasn't peaked. It has just begun. The world must now adjust.